Okay, so we're going to begin the signing of the agreement. And so we're going to allow pictures, and then the minister and our chiefs are going to sign the agreement. Yeah, yes, please join us. Yep. Okay, you can go ahead.
On behalf of our chief and councils from Première Nation Abitibiwini, Algonquins of Pequawkanagan First Nations, Abitibi Anishinabe, Barrier Lake, Long Point First Nations, Kabawek First Nations, Première Nation de Lac Simon, Première Nation de Kitchissakik, Kitaganzibi Anishinabe, Timiskaming First Nations, and Wolf Lake First Nations. Miigwech Kakina for coming here today and supporting the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation in this monumental event that we will forever remember and are so anxious to see what our membership, through our visioning process, will decide what they want to see in that infill space. So we're just as curious as you are as to what that will look like, and good things take time. This took almost 5 years, and we've got a substantial amount of work ahead of us to bring our people's vision to life. Today, we just signed a landmark agreement for the future dedicated space for our Anishinabe Algonquin Nation, and this agreement signifies Canada's commitment to us, the host nation, and it feels really good. Thank you so much, Canada. And our future space will be in the heart of our Aki, our territory, and then Atakanan. This is the heart of our territory, where the three rivers meet. Our next steps, we'll be engaging with them for the vision. And we look forward with working with our partners at Crown-Indigenous Relations and Northern Affairs Canada and PSPC to getting there. So, Chimiigwech.
Thank you very much, Grand Chief. Thank you, everyone, for being here, and congratulations on such a very important achievement, one that probably shouldn't have taken this long to get to, but we're here, and this is a monumental moment for both of our nations, so congratulations. I want to just acknowledge the enormous efforts of so many Algonquin and Anishinaabe people, leaders who have been working on this for many years. This as in Canada's capital, in traditional Algonquin and Anishinaabe territory, there's really no actual place that is where the people are celebrated. And this space that we signed today, 100 Wellington, which is a historic site, really is a new beginning for both of our nations. One that should be at the center of the reconciliation efforts that we have. But it's a very initial step, a small step towards that goal. And I hope to see you letting loose your imagination and see what you will be able to build and create in your own lands. This is Canada giving back and returning to the rightful owners, the Anishinabe Algonquin people, their land. So, merci tout le monde. Je suis heureux d'être ici avec la nation Algonquin Anishinaabe sur son territoire traditionnel non cédé et non abandonné pour cette occasion mémorable. And je vous remercie tous et tous d'être présents aujourd'hui afin de témoigner de ce nouveau chapitre important de notre histoire commune. Chimiigwech. Merci. Thank you.
Miigwech, everyone. And so this concludes the signing aspect of our event. We would like to invite everyone to have some appetizers. We have Jolene Commanda catering us, so Chimiigwech. And then for the media, we will have a media scrum here on the left-hand side. So we invite you to join us there if you have any questions. So again, Chimiigwech for this and for being here in support of the Anishinabe Algonquin Nation.
We'd have to start over kind of from the beginning of everything, just so we could get everybody on the loop so then we can try and keep some momentum. And also to go through word by word and to make sure everything was all right for us to bring back to our leadership. There was lots of exchanges back and forth, and then we just went through the growing pains of getting the document properly written so that our leadership could sign it and we could lock in what we envisioned and what we wanted. And
did all the leadership of the Algonquin Nation agree to this?
Yes, they did. Through Verna's efforts, everybody. It was a moment where it sparked our community's perception, and it's like, okay, we need to all collectively work on this together, and it brought a new air into our political sphere where it's like, okay, this is a file we can all work on and agree on. There's no winning or losing, well, unless we don't get the agreement that we could sign, and we persisted and kept negotiating through our chiefs with CERNA and PSPC and all of our collective teams, and we did it.
We also had the COVID-19 in the middle of this, so we did lose some time. But I think the broader question is, why did it take 154 years for us to get here? This is Canada's capital. This is on unceded Algonquin territory. We oftentimes, when we have meetings here, we have land acknowledgements. Virtually every committee meeting or gatherings that take place, we have land acknowledgements thanking the Anishinabe Algonquin people. But remarkably, there's no space to commemorate and mark and thank them. And I think this is a historical day as we now have a space that is dedicated and really returning what is rightfully this of the nation back to the nation, and I think it's a very important moment. I know there's a long journey, and I think we can all reflect on the many hurdles that came about, but I think it's important to look forward and say, what is the next steps? There's a lot of work ahead that I know the nation is ready to do, and we will be there to support them.
How much money is the government giving to build this building?
Right now, in budget 2024, there's funds allocated towards the consultation and design is roughly around $4.6 million over 2 years. This is for the broader Indigenous spaces, including the Algonquin and Anishinaabe space. There's also the Indigenous peoples space. But as we progress, we will need to come up with the funds that are required, and it's going to depend on the vision and the scoping of what needs to happen. That's not something the federal government could dictate. I think ultimately the exercise that the Grand Chief and her people are going to do over the next little while, I think, will inform what those costs are, and I think as a federal government it's up to us to support those efforts.
Is the agreement that you announced today, is it legally binding? If there's a change in government, will the government have to spend the money to build this building? I'm just wondering how firm this agreement is today.
Well, in my opinion, this is about the honor of the Crown, and this is something that does bind the government of Canada to work with all governments going forward on the obligations that we have under both the lease, because this particular space, as you may know, is a temporary space until a permanent structure is built later on. So it does bind us on both fronts.
So I guess in retrospect, though, the thing is, wouldn't it have just been easier to include the Algonquins in the first place, so we're not here 5 years later talking about it?
Look, this is a bit more complex than just saying we should have included the Algonquin. I think what is important is that the Algonquin people, this is their land, this is their space. The capital is situated within their unceded territory, and as such, they have every right, and in fact, it's not even, I have to be very careful, because land that we're giving back, right? We're not giving it to the Algonquin people, we're actually giving it back to them. And I think that's a very important conversation to have. The second aspect of it is, because it's in the nation's capital, there is a need to have a distinction-based space that honors the different distinctions within and across Canada. And I think that there is a difference, I think, and I believe that ultimately we came to the right place. And I think we could always, reevaluate how we were better undertaking this process. But ultimately, I think we're where we need to be.
But there was like a lengthy protest there. I mean, you have to admit there's probably a bit of an oversight.
I'm not going to second guess, the previous ministers who've been in this role. I mean, you can speak to the person who was protesting. I mean, she has, she's here with her granddaughter, and she'll tell you why she protested. And she was just telling us earlier that, she has to do it over again. She would do it over again. It's a reminder to us that, Canada needs to listen, right? Canada needs to be in tuned and attentive to its failures, really, and to make sure that this, that there are no oversights such as this going forward. We do have a brilliant space, probably one of the most coveted space in the capital, to showcase and to celebrate the Algonquin people. But it's also a place where the nation can gather and to meet leaders. The Algonquin leaders can come there. Young people can come there. I mean, let your imagination go, because there's so many different elements to this that I know the community and the nation will ultimately scope out and do. So I don't know if you want to add to the vision that you have.
Well, we're going to communicate and go and do vision and exercise with all 11 of our communities of the Algonquin Nation, and really they're going to be driving the direction that they want to see, and what will be in the infill space. So as I said earlier, we're just as curious as you are, but we're doing this wholeheartedly to all of our membership, and we're paddling this canoe forward, and one day we'll be able to dock and see and touch this building.
Do you have a timeline?
Well, there's the Block 2 reconstruction happening, so I think the Block 2 federal precinct here across the street will be closed for like 10 years or so. So we do have a bit of a timeline. Well, hopefully we can get it and start building within that time frame. So we've got some heavy legwork to do in order to meet the deadline for everything to get blocked off for the site reconstruction. And
the minister is talking about this as being land back, but in reality, it's only a small chunk of the territory.
Yes.
What other measures do you want to see? All of Ottawa is built on.
No, that's true. And some of my communities have land title claims within the National Capital Region. So we are taking steps and in taking land title claims out of abeyance in order to go to the courts and get that title, for our people and for the nation, because the title is at the nation level, but each community has to work together and figure out a way. So we're meandering our way, and you also have to keep in mind the majority of our communities are in Quebec, where we're dealing with the civil law as opposed to common law and the jurisdictional issues. So we're just navigating our ways to get there as soon as possible and in a good way.
Look, I think this is symbolic, right, for sure, but this is, I think, one of the very first attempts to do this with the Algonquin people. In other parts of the country, there are significant work that we have advanced in terms of treaty negotiations. By the end of June, we'll be signing off on 2 modern treaties in British Columbia, where land is a critical component of it. The Haida Nation has now title from a provincial sense in British Columbia, and we're looking forward to doing something similar. This is a longer process, and title is, I think we've said many times, at the core of the work that we need to do. It's about land back. It's about preserving and protecting culture, language, and ultimately ensuring that the gaps are closed. So these are going to take time. And I think we're in the right place today because this is a new beginning for us. This is the first real substantive delivery that I think we've been able to do, and we want to be able to build on this.
Do you see this as a reset of the relationship between the Government of Canada and the Algonquin Nation?
look, relationships of any type are hard, and I think with with us sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. The Algonquin Nation, in every sense, I think are frustrated over broken promises, over the lack of services, sometimes the lack of movement on things that are important to them. But since 2015, we are moving in the right direction. We're moving in the direction of closing the gap, making sure that underlying issues are addressed, issues of infrastructure, issues of housing. The challenge, obviously, is the speed in which we're going, and that's part of the work that we need to do better. But ultimately, it's a relationship that is intertwined each and every day. We have members of the nation who are working for the federal government, within our departments, within every aspect of society, and it's a relationship that we continuously need to work on. We commit to doing that.
Can you give us an idea of how big the building's going to be, what it's going to be inside of it?
Okay, yeah. There's a rule with the federal precinct across the street where we have to work with the NCC to figure out if it's 7 or 9 stories tall, but that info space, the footprint isn't that big. So then we've got to work with the NCC to figure out if the line of sight, or I forget the proper term for it, if it would be okay. But I think
what you'd like to have in the building,
as many floors as possible.
Services, I guess.
Well, that's up to our community members to decide, but just to have a space to showcase who we are, because a lot of people come to Ottawa and are like, oh, who's the host nation? And there's lots of competing claims that, oh, we have territories here, and it's like, wait, this is ours, and you can't forget that. And we're reuniting to strengthen our relationship with all of our communities and to showcase and show up and show everyone.
Thank you very much. That concludes the media time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.